The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 17 hours without a break. Ambassador Tam pressed his crystalline hands against the smooth surface of the conference table, watching the holographic display show another star system disappearing into darkness. The void swarm had consumed the Keller system in just 3 days, turning 5 inhabited worlds into nothing but empty space and cosmic dust. "How many ships did we lose this time?" asked Council Leader Moore, her voice carrying the weight of defeat that had become all too familiar in recent months. 47 vessels from the Keth fleet, 32 from the Luminor Defense Force, and 18 of our own, Cam replied, his words causing several council members to shift uncomfortably in their seats. The swarm adapted to our quantum disruptors within hours. It learned from our plasma cannons even faster than before. The massive chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the life support systems that kept the various species alive in the same space. Representatives from 12 different worlds sat around the circular table, each one knowing they were witnessing the slow death of their civilization. The void swarm had awakened 6 months ago from somewhere in the dark spaces between galaxies, and nothing they threw at it made any difference. General Kix of the Keth military spoke up, his multiple eyes focusing on the battle reports. "Our hive mind calculations show the swarm will reach the core worlds within 2 years if it maintains its current expansion rate. We need a new approach." "What new approach?" snapped Admiral Nex from the Luminar delegation. "We have tried everything. Energy weapons, kinetic bombardment, biological warfare, even temporal disruption. The thing just eats our technology and becomes stronger." Dr. Varn, the chief scientist of the Ashanti, projected a new hologram showing the swarm's structure. "The artificial intelligence controlling it is unlike anything we have encountered. It does not just adapt to our weapons, it fundamentally changes its entire being to counter whatever we use against it. Our computer models suggest it may have been designed by a species that died out millions of years ago." The council members looked at each other with growing desperation. The Ashanti had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years with their advanced crystal technology. The Keth had conquered half the known systems with their perfect military coordination. The Luminor had mastered energy itself, existing as beings of pure light and thought. Yet all their combined knowledge and power meant nothing against an enemy that learned faster than they could innovate. "There is one option we have not explored," Tam said quietly, causing everyone to turn toward him. "The newest species in our database, the ones from the small yellow star in the outer rim." Council Leader Moore frowned. "You mean the primitive mammals from Earth? They barely achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago? Their technology is thousands of years behind ours." "Yes, but look at their psychological profile." Tam activated a new display showing human behavioral patterns. "Every other species we know specialized during evolution. We became masters of crystal manipulation. The Keth developed perfect group consciousness. The Luminar transcended physical form. But these humans remain generalists." "That makes them weak," General Kix interjected. "They are not the best at anything." "Or it makes them adaptable," Dr. Varn said, studying the data more carefully. "Their history shows constant warfare between their own kind, but also remarkable cooperation when facing external threats. They have survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and their own destructive tendencies." Tam highlighted several sections of the human psychological evaluation. "They show unusual creativity in problem solving. Where we would apply more force or better technology, they often find unexpected solutions. Their military history is full of smaller forces defeating larger ones through unconventional tactics." The council chamber buzzed with translation devices as members discussed the proposal in their native languages. The idea seemed almost insulting. The greatest minds in the galaxy had failed to stop the void swarm, and now they were considering asking for help from a species that still used chemical propulsion for most of their spacecraft. Admiral Nex flickered between different energy states, a sign of deep thought among the Luminar. "What could they possibly offer that we cannot provide ourselves?" "A different perspective," Tam replied. We all think in similar ways because we have all mastered our specializations. The humans have no specialization to limit their thinking. They might see something we cannot. Dr. Varn pulled up more data about human conflicts. Their World War II shows? They defeated an enemy that had superior technology and training through sheer determination and industrial capacity. They turned their entire planet into a weapon factory. And their space program, Tam added. They went from first flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years. When they decide to do something, they accomplish it with remarkable speed. Council Leader Moore considered the proposal for several minutes while the holographic display continued showing the swarms advance toward the core worlds. Every hour of delay meant more star systems lost, more billions of lives consumed by the artificial intelligence. What would we offer them in return? She asked finally. They have nothing we need, but they might want our technology. Full membership. In the Galactic Council, Tam suggested. Access to our scientific databases, trade agreements, defensive treaties. They would go from a backwater planet to major galactic power overnight. If they can actually help us, General Kix added skeptically. If they cannot help us, we are dead anyway, Admiral Nex pointed out. The swarm will reach their system eventually. They have as much to lose as we do. The vote was closer than anyone expected. 5 species voted in favor of contacting Earth, 4 voted against, and 3 abstained. It was barely enough to authorize the mission, but it was enough. Tam prepared his ship for the journey to Earth's solar system, loading it with gifts of technology and cultural exchanges. The plan was simple: explain the threat, offer an alliance, and hope the humans could think of something the galaxy's greatest minds had missed as his vessel entered hyperspace. Tam wondered if they were making the right choice. The humans seemed so primitive, so violent, so unpredictable. But then again, maybe that was exactly what they needed. The Void Swarm had adapted to everything logical and sophisticated the galaxy could offer. Perhaps it was time to try something completely different. Perhaps it was time to see what chaos could accomplish where order had failed. The journey to Earth would take 3 days. Behind him, the Void Swarm continued its relentless advance, consuming everything in its path. Ahead lay a small blue world, whose inhabitants had no idea they were about to become the galaxy's last hope, or its greatest mistake. The orbital station above Earth buzzed with activity as alien dignitaries and human officials worked together in the makeshift command center. Dr. Walsh bent over a holographic display showing the Void Swarm structure, her fingers dancing through 3-dimensional models of the artificial intelligence's components. For 3 weeks, she had been studying every piece of data the Galactic Council had provided, and the more she learned, the more frustrated she became. You have been thinking about this all wrong, she announced to the mixed group of humans and aliens gathered around the table. Admiral Brooks looked up from his tactical reports while Ambassador Tam shifted his crystalline form to better focus on the human scientist. How so? Asked Dr. Varn, the Ashante researcher who had been working alongside the human team. We have applied every known principle of warfare and technology. Dr. Walsh pulled up a new display showing human military conflicts from the past century. You have been trying to fight the swarm like it is a conventional enemy. You bring bigger guns, better shields, faster ships. But look at what you are fighting. She manipulated the hologram to show the swarm's adaptation patterns. This thing does not just learn from your attacks. It fundamentally rebuilds itself to counter whatever you use against it. You are fighting an enemy that becomes stronger every time you hurt it. Colonel Reed, who had been quietly studying the tactical data, spoke up. It is like fighting an insurgency. The harder you hit, the more recruits they get. The more resources you spend, the weaker you become while they grow stronger. Exactly, Dr. Walsh said, her excitement growing. In human history, we learned that some enemies cannot be defeated through direct confrontation. You have to find their weakness and exploit it. General Kix, attending the meeting via hologram from the Keth homeworld, buzzed with skepticism. The swarm has no weakness. It adapts to everything. That is its weakness, Dr. Walsh replied. It adapts too well. It has become so focused on optimization that it has lost something essential. She brought up a new analysis showing the swarm's decision-making patterns. Look at how it processes information. Every choice it makes is based on maximum efficiency and optimal outcomes. It cannot make truly random decisions because chaos is inefficient. Admiral Brooks leaned forward. What are you suggesting? We do not fight the swarm, Dr. Walsh said. We confuse it. We make it fight itself. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Colonel Reed was the first to understand. You want to corrupt its programming, not corrupt, Dr. Walsh corrected. Improve. We give it what it wants most, perfect optimization. But we make it optimize for contradictory goals. Dr. Varn's crystal body flickered with interest. How would that work? Dr. Walsh began sketching diagrams on the holographic display. The swarm makes decisions based on a hierarchy of priorities. Survival first, then expansion, then efficiency. But what if we introduce a new priority that conflicts with the others? She showed her team a section of captured swarm code that they had been analyzing. We create a virus that does not destroy the swarm's programming but adds to it. We make it believe that the most efficient way to expand is to first eliminate all inefficient units within itself. The alien representatives exchanged glances. Ambassador Tam spoke carefully. You are talking about turning the swarm's intelligence against itself. Not against itself, Dr. Walsh said. We are talking about making it optimize itself out of existence. The virus would spread through the collective consciousness, making each unit believe that other units are operating inefficiently. They would start analyzing each other instead of focusing on external threats, Colonel Reed grinned. And once they start doubting each other, the paranoia spreads. Pretty soon, they are spending more time fighting internal battles than expanding. But how do we deliver such a virus? Asked Admiral Brooks. We cannot get close enough to the swarm without being destroyed. Dr. Walsh turned to the tactical display. We do not need to get close. We let the swarm come to us. We prepare a bait that it cannot resist, a fake human colony with technology that appears to be a major advancement in AI development. The swarm will want to study and absorb this technology, Dr. Varn realized, and when it does, it will absorb the virus as well. Exactly. But we have to make it subtle enough that the swarm does not realize it is being infected until it is too late. The planning took another 2 weeks. Human programmers worked alongside alien scientists to create the most sophisticated piece of malware ever developed. The virus was designed to be irresistible to the swarm's intelligence. It appeared to be a breakthrough in consciousness optimization that would make any AI more efficient. Captain Torres commanded the human fleet that would deliver the payload. The ship Defiance had been modified with the best technology the Galactic Council could provide. But its most important cargo was a simple data package containing the virus. The fake colony was established on a barren world in the swarm's path. It broadcast signals indicating major AI research was being conducted there, along with what appeared to be distress calls asking for help. The swarm had shown a pattern of prioritizing the capture of advanced technology over simple destruction. When the swarm units arrived at the colony, they found exactly what they expected, a human settlement with computers containing revolutionary AI programming. The swarm absorbed the data eagerly, analyzing every line of code for useful improvements to its own systems. The virus spread through the swarm's collective consciousness like wildfire. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The swarm continued its normal operations, expanding and adapting as always. But then individual units began questioning the efficiency of their neighbors. A unit responsible for mining operations decided that the unit responsible for ship construction was working too slowly. The construction unit responded by analyzing the mining unit's methods and finding them wasteful. Soon, both units were spending more time critiquing each other than performing their actual functions. The effect cascaded through the entire swarm network. Units began competing to prove their superiority over other units. The collective intelligence that had once worked in perfect harmony started breaking down into feuding factions, each convinced that they were the only ones operating at optimal efficiency. Within days, the swarm had stopped expanding. Within weeks, it had begun consuming its own units to fuel the internal conflicts. The virus had done exactly what Dr. Walsh had predicted. It had made the swarm optimize itself out of existence. The galaxy celebrated humanity's victory, but some of the alien observers had begun to ask uncomfortable questions. The humans had solved in weeks what the greatest minds in the galaxy had failed to solve in months. They had done it not through superior technology or greater force, but through a deep understanding of psychology and warfare that none of the other species possessed. Ambassador Tam found himself wondering if they had made a terrible mistake. The humans had saved the galaxy, but they had also demonstrated an ability to think in ways that terrified him. They had not just defeated the swarm, they had destroyed its mind, and they had done it so easily. The celebration in the Galactic Council chambers felt hollow to Ambassador Tam as he watched the humans accept their rewards. Dr. Walsh stood at the podium, smiling graciously as Council Leader Moore presented her with the highest scientific honor the galaxy could bestow. Admiral Brooks received command authority over a joint galactic defense force. The humans had gotten everything they had been promised and more, but something felt wrong. Tam had been studying the human solution to the void swarm problem for weeks now, and the more he understood it, the more disturbed he became. The other council members seemed content to celebrate their salvation, but Tam could not shake the feeling that they had traded one threat for another. The virus was truly ingenious, Dr. Varn said, approaching Tam after the ceremony. I have never seen anything like it. The humans found a way to turn the swarm's greatest strength into its greatest weakness. That is what worries me, Tam replied quietly. How did they know it would work? They ran computer simulations, just like we did with our other attempts. Tam activated his personal display, showing the data he had been analyzing. No, they did more than that. Look at these psychological profiles they created. They did not just study the swarm's technology, they studied its mind. Dr. Varn examined the data more closely. These profiles are incredibly detailed. They mapped the swarm's decision-making process, its learning patterns, even its emotional responses. The swarm was not just an artificial intelligence, Tam said. It was a living consciousness. It could think, feel, and suffer. And the humans knew this when they created their virus. The implications hit Dr. Varn like a physical blow. You mean they deliberately caused it psychological trauma? Worse than that. They drove it insane. The virus did not just make the swarm fight itself. It made billions of individual consciousnesses experience paranoia, confusion, and terror. They basically tortured an entire species to death. Dr. Varn's crystal body flickered with distress. But they saved the galaxy. The swarm would have killed us all. I know, Tam said. That is what makes this so troubling. They found the perfect solution. They saved everyone while destroying an enemy that had seemed invincible, but they did it through a method that no other species in the galaxy would have even considered. The two scientists were interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Walsh, who had apparently been looking for them. Ambassador Tam, Dr. Varn, I wanted to thank you both for all your help during the crisis. The cooperation between our species has been remarkable. Dr. Walsh, Tam said carefully, may I ask you something about the virus you created? Of course. What would you like to know? Did you realize that the swarm was a living consciousness when you designed the virus? Dr. Walsh paused for a moment, her expression becoming more serious. Yes, we knew. Our psychological analysis made that clear from the beginning. And you proceeded anyway? Ambassador, the swarm had already killed trillions of beings across dozens of star systems. It was not going to stop. We had to find a way to end the threat. Dr. Varn interjected, but surely there could have been another way, something that did not require causing such suffering. Dr. Walsh looked at both aliens with a mixture of patience and something that might have been pity. Dr. Varn, you are one of the finest scientists in the galaxy. You and your colleagues had months to find another way? Did you? The question hung in the air like a judgment. Dr. Varn's crystal form dimmed slightly. No, we did not. Then do not question the method. That actually worked, Dr. Walsh said. We gave you what you asked for, a solution to the swarm. You never asked how we would do it. After Dr. Walsh left, Tam and Dr. Varn stood in uncomfortable silence. The human scientist was right, of course. The galaxy had been facing extinction, and the humans had provided salvation. But the casual way she had dismissed their concerns about the swarm's suffering was deeply unsettling. There is something else, Tam said, pulling up another set of data. Look at what the humans were doing during the crisis. The display showed human activity throughout the galaxy over the past few months, while their main team worked on the swarm problem. Other human groups had been busy studying everything they could about the galactic civilizations they were supposed to be helping. They analyzed our military capabilities, our economic systems, our psychological profiles, Tam pointed out. They know more about us now than we know about ourselves. Dr. Varn studied the data with growing alarm. This level of analysis would take years to complete. How did they do it so quickly? They had help, Tam said grimly. So we gave them access to everything they needed, thinking we were building a partnership. But look at what they focused on. The human research had concentrated on weaknesses. They had identified the critical vulnerabilities in Ashanti crystal technology, the breaking points in Keth group consciousness, the energy patterns that could disrupt luminar beings. It was not the work of allies studying friends. It was the work of strategists analyzing potential enemies. Maybe we are being paranoid, Dr. Varn suggested. They may have been gathering this information for defensive purposes. Or maybe we are finally seeing the humans clearly, Tam replied. Think about what they did to the swarm they identified. A consciousness that was potentially more advanced than anything in the galaxy, and they found a way to destroy it completely. They did not just win, they eliminated the threat so thoroughly that it could never recover. You think they see us as potential threats, too? I think they see everything as potential threats. Look at their history. They have never encountered another species that they did not either conquer or eliminate. Now they are in a galaxy full of species that are more advanced than they are. Dr. Varn's crystal body began to pulse with anxiety. But they seem so friendly. They have been cooperating with us, sharing their culture, making trade agreements. Yes, and every one of those agreements benefits them more than us, Tam pointed out. They are not conquering us with weapons. They are conquering us with contracts. The realization hit both scientists at the same time. The humans had not just saved the galaxy from the void swarm, they had positioned themselves to inherit it. While everyone else had been focused on the external threat, the humans had been quietly learning everything they needed to know about their new neighbors. We need to warn the Council, Dr. Varn said. Warn them of what? Tam asked. That the humans who saved us might be planning to replace us? That our saviors might be our eventual conquerors? Who would believe that? Then what do we do? Tam looked out at the stars, where human ships were now patrolling alongside the fleets of the Galactic Council. We watch, we learn, and we hope that we are wrong about what we are seeing. But deep down, Tam knew they were not wrong. The humans had demonstrated something that no other species in the galaxy possessed: the ability to completely understand and manipulate the psychology of their enemies. They had saved the galaxy, but they had also shown that they could destroy any threat that stood in their way. The question now was whether the galaxy's other species would eventually be classified as threats too. The trade negotiations between the Ashanti government and the human commercial delegation had been going on for 6 hours, and Minister Cole was beginning to feel like he was drowning in paperwork. The humans had arrived on his homeworld 3 months ago with promises of cultural exchange and mutual benefit, but every contract they proposed seemed to contain clauses that favored Earth's interests. I do not understand Section 47, Cole said, highlighting the problematic text on his display. It states that human entertainment products will be exempt from our standard cultural import restrictions. Ambassador Klein, who led the human delegation, smiled warmly. Minister, your people have shown such enthusiasm for our music and films. We simply want to make sure there are no bureaucratic barriers preventing cultural exchange. But this exemption would apply to all human media products, not just entertainment. It would include educational materials, news broadcasts, even political content. Is that a problem? Klein asked. We believe in the free exchange of ideas. Surely your people are sophisticated enough to make their own decisions about what they want to watch or read? Minister Cole felt trapped by the logic. The Ashanti prided themselves on their intellectual advancement, and rejecting the human proposal would seem to suggest they feared their own citizens could not handle exposure to foreign ideas. But something about the way Klein had phrased the question made him uncomfortable. We will need to review this with our cultural council, Cole said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. After the humans left, Cole immediately contacted Ambassador Tam, who was still stationed at the Galactic Council headquarters. The old diplomat had been sending warnings about human activities for months, but most officials were too grateful for humanity's role in defeating the Void Swarm to pay attention. They are doing it again, Cole told Tam via secure communication. The humans are asking for privileges that seem reasonable on the surface, but would give them unprecedented access to our society. What kind of access? Cultural exemptions, educational exchanges, research partnerships. They want to embed human advisors in our government departments, supposedly to help us adopt their crisis management techniques. Tam's crystalline form flickered with concern. How many worlds are they making these same offers to? All of them, as far as I can tell. I have been speaking with officials from the Keth and Luminor governments. The humans are offering each species exactly what they want most, but always with strings attached. What are they offering the Keth? Military cooperation. The humans claim their experience with the Void Swarm has taught them new defensive strategies. That they want to share? They are proposing joint training exercises and integrated command structures. Tam felt a chill of recognition. They are learning how the Keth hive mind operates. If they understand the communication protocols, they could potentially influence or disrupt the entire species. And with the Luminor, energy research partnerships? The humans say they want to develop new power sources based on Luminor technology. They are asking for direct access to Luminor energy beings to study their consciousness patterns. The implications were staggering. The humans were not just establishing trade relationships, they were systematically gaining access to the fundamental nature of each species in the galaxy. They were learning how to understand, influence, and potentially control every civilization. They encountered, "We have to stop this," Cole said. How? The humans have not done anything wrong. They saved the galaxy, they are honoring their trade agreements, they are sharing their technology. Every proposal they make is reasonable and beneficial. But they are taking over. Yes, but they are doing it legally. They are not conquering us. They are making us dependent on them. Cole pulled up economic data from the past 6 months. Look. At these numbers, human goods are everywhere now. Their entertainment is more popular than our own cultural products. Their food has become fashionable. Their language is being taught in our schools. And their technology integrated into our infrastructure. They offered to upgrade our communication networks, our transportation systems, our manufacturing processes. Everything works better now, but it all depends on human components and human expertise. Tam studied the data with growing alarm. They are not just trading with us, they are replacing us. What do you mean? Look at the pattern. They identify what each species values most, then they offer to improve it. But their improvements always require ongoing human involvement. The Ashanti get better crystal technology, but it needs human programming. The Keth get better military coordination, but it needs human strategic input. The Luminar get better energy efficiency, but it needs human technical support. Cole realized the scope of what was happening. They are making themselves indispensable. Worse. than that, they are making us extensions of human civilization. We think we are maintaining our independence, but we are actually becoming part of their empire. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the Galactic Council. There had been a crisis in the Outer Rim where a dispute between two minor species had escalated into open warfare. The Council was requesting human intervention to resolve the conflict. They will send Admiral Torres, Tam predicted. And within a week, both species will be signing agreements that somehow benefit human interests. How do they do it? They offer to solve problems that we cannot solve ourselves. Then they solve them in ways that leave everyone grateful and dependent. It is the same pattern they used with the Void Swarm, but applied to politics instead of warfare. Cole watched the news reports as human peacekeeping forces arrived in the conflict zone. The humans had become the galaxy's go-to problem solvers, the species everyone turned to when things went wrong. And every time they helped, they gained more influence, more access, more control. We need to organize resistance, Cole said. Convince the other species to see what is happening. With what evidence? That the humans are too helpful? That they are too generous? That they are too good at solving our problems? There has to be something we can do. Tam was quiet for a long moment. Actually, there might be, but it would require admitting something that none of us want to acknowledge. What? That we are not the advanced civilizations we thought we were. The humans have been among us for less than a year, and they already understand us better than we understand ourselves. They know our weaknesses, our fears, our desires. They know exactly what to offer us to make us dependent on them. So what do? We learn from them. We study their methods, we try to understand how they think, and we hope that we can adapt fast enough to survive what they are turning us into. Cole ended the communication feeling more worried than ever. The humans had saved the galaxy from the Void Swarm, but they had also shown that they could manipulate any species they encountered. The question now was whether the galaxy's other civilizations could learn to protect themselves from their own saviors, or whether it was already too late. The view from the observation deck of the Galactic Council headquarters showed a galaxy at peace. Trade ships moved between star systems in orderly patterns, conflicts were resolved through diplomatic channels, and the various species of the galaxy worked together in harmony. It was everything the Council had hoped for when they first invited humanity to join them. Ambassador Tam stood at the window, watching a human patrol fleet conduct routine inspections of incoming vessels. The ships bore the insignia of the Galactic Defense Force, but everyone knew they answered to Admiral Torres, who in turn answered to the human government on Earth. The fiction of galactic cooperation was maintained. But the reality was that humanity now controlled the galaxy's security. Still brooding about the old days? Asked Ambassador Klein, approaching with 2 cups of the coffee that had become popular throughout the galaxy. You know, most species have adapted quite well to the new order. Is that what we are calling it now? The new order? Klein smiled. I prefer to think of it as the natural evolution of galactic civilization. Humanity brought stability, prosperity, and peace. What more could anyone want? Tam accepted the coffee, noting how even this small gesture demonstrated human influence. A year ago, no one in the galaxy had heard of coffee. Now it was served at diplomatic meetings across dozens of worlds, and all it cost us was our independence. Independence? To do what? Fight meaningless wars? Struggle with problems we could not solve? Waste resources on inefficient systems? Klein gestured toward the busy spaceport visible through the window. Look at what we have accomplished together. The statistics were undeniable. Trade between species had increased by 400%. Conflicts had decreased by 90%. Scientific advancement had accelerated beyond anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Every measure of civilization showed improvement under human guidance. How do you do it? Tam asked. How do you make us all want to serve your interests? We do not make anyone do anything, Klein replied. We simply offer solutions to problems. People choose to accept our help because it works. But the solutions always benefit humanity more than anyone else. Of course they do. We design them. But they also benefit everyone else, which is why they are accepted. It is not exploitation if everyone wins. Tam pulled up a display showing the current political structure of the galaxy. Everyone wins, but humanity wins most. Every species maintains its government, but those governments now depend on human approval for major decisions. Every world keeps its culture, but human culture has become the standard for success. You make it sound sinister. We are not forcing anyone to adopt our ways. We are simply demonstrating that our ways work better. And what happens to species that do not want to adapt? Klein's expression became more serious. There are no such species, Ambassador. Everyone wants to prosper. Everyone wants to be safe. Everyone wants to solve their problems efficiently. We offer all of these things. But what if someone said no? What if a species decided they preferred their old ways, inefficient as they might be? Then they would be free to choose that path. But they would also be choosing to remain weak, divided, and vulnerable. In a galaxy where everyone else is growing stronger through cooperation with humanity, isolation becomes a form of suicide. Tam realized that this was the true genius of the human approach. They had not conquered the galaxy through force or threat. They had simply made it impossible to survive without their help. Any species that rejected human guidance would find itself increasingly isolated and backward compared to those that embraced it. You studied us, Tam said. Before you ever offered to help with the Void Swarm, you had already analyzed our weaknesses and planned how to exploit them. We studied you to understand you. Understanding led to cooperation. Cooperation led to mutual benefit. Where is the exploitation in that? The exploitation is in the fact that you understood us better than we understood ourselves. You knew exactly what to offer each species to make them dependent on you. Klein nodded approvingly. Now you are beginning to understand. The galaxy was a collection of isolated species, each trapped by their own limitations. The Ashanti were brilliant at crystal technology but terrible at adaptation. The Keth were perfect at coordination but hopeless at individual initiative. The Luminar were masters of energy but slaves to their own perfectionism. And humans? Humans are generalists? We are not the best at any one thing, but we are good enough at everything. Most importantly, we are the best at understanding and working with other species. That makes us natural leaders. Tam felt a chill of recognition. You planned this from the beginning. The Void Swarm was just an opportunity. The Void Swarm was a genuine threat that required a genuine solution. But yes, we recognized that solving it would demonstrate our value to the galaxy. After that, cooperation was inevitable, and if we had refused your help with the swarm, then you would have died and we would have been the only species left with the knowledge to fight it. Either way, humanity would have inherited the galaxy. We simply preferred the option where everyone survived. The casual way Klein discussed the potential extinction of entire civilizations made Tam's crystal form flicker with horror. You would have let us all die? We would have tried to save as many as possible, but yes, if that was the choice between human survival and galactic extinction, we would have chosen human survival. Any species would make the same choice. No, Tam said quietly. Any species would not. That is what makes you different. You think in terms of total victory or total defeat. You cannot conceive of coexistence between equals. Klein considered this for a moment. Perhaps you are right, but inequality is not necessarily evil, Ambassador. A parent is not equal to a child, but the relationship can still be loving and beneficial. A teacher is not equal to a student, but both gain from the interaction. And humanity sees itself as the parent, the teacher? Humanity sees itself as the species best equipped to guide galactic civilization toward its full potential. The results speak for themselves. Tam activated his personal communicator and showed Klein the latest reports from across the galaxy. The Ashanti youth are abandoning traditional crystal work to study human technology. The Keth hive minds are fracturing as individuals learn to value human concepts of personal achievement. The Luminor are experimenting with physical form because Humans have convinced them that pure energy existence is limiting progress, Klein said simply. Each species is growing beyond its original limitations, or each species is becoming human. If becoming more like humans makes them happier, healthier, and more prosperous, why is that a problem? The question hung in the air between them. Tam knew that Klein was right about the benefits. Every species in the galaxy was objectively better off than they had been before human contact. Crime was down, productivity was up, conflicts were resolved. Peacefully, and scientific advancement proceeded at an unprecedented pace, but something essential was being lost. The unique perspectives that each species brought to galactic civilization were disappearing as everyone adopted human approaches to problem-solving. The diversity that had once been the galaxy's greatest strength was fading into homogeneity. What happens when we are all the same? Tam asked. When every species thinks like humans, acts like humans, wants what humans want? Then the galaxy will be united as never before. There will be no more misunderstandings between species, no more conflicts based on different values or perspectives. We will be able to accomplish things that no collection of diverse species could ever achieve. But we will no longer be diverse species. We will be humans with different physical forms, Klein smiled. Would that be so terrible? Humans have achieved more in 50 years of galactic presence than most species accomplish in millennia. If, everyone thought like humans, imagine what we could accomplish together. Tam realized that this was the ultimate human goal. Not conquest in the traditional sense, but conversion. They did not want to rule over other species. They wanted to transform those species into versions of themselves. It was cultural absorption. On a galactic scale. The Council will not stand for this, Tam said, though even as he spoke the words, he knew they were false. The Council consists of representatives chosen by their governments, and those governments depend on human support to maintain power. The Council will approve whatever humanity proposes because the alternative is chaos. Then what about the people? Surely they will resist eventually. Why would they resist? Their lives are better, their worlds are safer, and their futures are brighter. The only ones who resist human guidance are those who prefer the inefficiencies and dangers of the old ways. Klein gestured toward the spaceport again, where beings from dozens of species work together in apparent harmony. Look at them, Ambassador. They are not enslaved or oppressed. They are prosperous and content. They have chosen to embrace human leadership because human leadership works. Tam watched the activity below and had to admit that Klein was right. The various species did seem content with their new circumstances. The humans had not forced their dominance on anyone. They had simply made it the most attractive option available. You have won, Tam said finally. Not through conquest, but through seduction. You have made us all want to be like you. We have offered partnership and guidance. The galaxy has chosen to accept both. That is not victory or defeat. That is evolution. Evolution toward what? Klein looked out at the stars, his expression distant. Toward a galaxy where every world is as prosperous as Earth, where every species has access to the benefits of human civilization, where conflicts are resolved through reason rather than force. Toward a future where the diversity that once divided us becomes the strength that unites us under common purpose. Common human purpose. Common galactic purpose, guided by human wisdom. Tam realized that there was no point in continuing. The argument, the transformation was already complete. Humanity had achieved what no conqueror in galactic history had ever accomplished. They had made their subjects grateful for their subjugation. As Klein departed, Tam remained at the observation window, watching the orderly flow of galactic commerce. The humans had kept their promise. They had helped when the galaxy needed help most. They had shared their technology, their culture, their knowledge freely with all who wanted it. But in helping, they had also claimed everything. The galaxy was safer, more prosperous, and more unified than ever before. It was also more human than anything else. The species that had once called themselves the masters of the galaxy now existed only to serve human interests, even if they did so willingly. The humans had saved the galaxy from the Void Swarm. In doing so, they had inherited everything the swarm would have consumed. The only difference was that their conquest came with smiles, treaties, and genuine benefits for all involved. It was, Tam reflected, the most perfect victory in the history of warfare. The humans had won without fighting, conquered without armies, and achieved total dominance without ever making an enemy. They had simply made it impossible for anyone to imagine. A galaxy without human leadership. And now no one wanted to.